Welcome to the Lord Be With You podcast show. I'm your host, Azzy. I've been looking around at some of the news this week to do with Star Wars and all the news, a lot of news in fandom, and there's been a lot of talk about Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is pretty much a creative genius who's done a lot of great work in animation at Lucasfilm, in the Clone Wars animation TV show. He's been involved with the Rebels as well. I think he's pretty much the main guy when it comes to anything that's animation there. And also with the Mandalorian TV show, he's worked alongside Jon Favreau. So in that respect, Dave Filoni is one of the high guys, one of the in guys at Lucasfilm. I think someone that George Lucas has a lot of respect for. In fact, George Lucas brought him in to do the work for Clone Wars back in the day. I think that was just before 2008, I think, if I'm correct on that. So they've put it out on their website on Disney that he's been promoted as a sort of creative director. Now, a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of Star Wars media and fan-led sort of channels and whatnot have jumped on that to say, oh, this is a new maneuver, this is a new thing. Dave Filoni's been promoted. Wow, how awesome! This is a new paradigm shift, a new beginning, a new hope for Star Wars. You know, a guy that George Lucas has ordained, somebody that understands the fans, has been promoted. It's a new era. It's a new day. A fresh anointing is coming my way. It's a season of power and prosperity. It's a new season. No, actually, that's a gospel song. But anyway, it's a great gospel song as well. But then some other more, we'll say, wiser Star Wars channels actually did their homework and have realised, no, this isn't nothing new. He's been in that position for about a year. So Dave Filoni has had that upgraded title, and there's lots of other employees at Lucasfilm that have also had that upgraded title as well. It's nothing significant. It's not a paradigm shift. Kathleen Kennedy was the one that actually promoted him in that position as well. So no, he's not going to replace Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy is still stroking that white cat with the leather glove as the archetypal sort of Bond villain. And she's still running things at Lucasfilm, at Disney Lucasfilm. Now, as to how long Kathleen Kennedy will be there, we do not know. And there is a moral implication here. Like, should fans be really wanting Kathleen Kennedy out? Is that the biggest thing that fans should be thinking about? Well, I guess an analogy would be like thinking about your favourite sports team. If there's a coach, a new coach, or a coach that's at a club a franchise that you support, a club that you support, and that coach isn't very good, the team keeps losing games, the star players keep, giving bad performances, or they want to leave the club, then in that respect, the natural response is, hang on a minute, this coach is no good. We need a new manager straight away because he's upsetting the main players. They're not winning on the pitch. We need a new manager. So in that respect, I think it's quite straightforward to say, you would say, we need a new coach, and you would feel no qualms about doing so. In terms of thinking about Kathleen Kennedy as a human being, obviously Kathleen Kennedy has feelings. So in that respect, some of the fandom response can be quite, I don't really say over the top, but maybe over the top, but certainly there's some aggression towards her. There are some Sith-like feelings towards her. There is some dark side of the Force type feelings towards Kathleen Kennedy. Now, Kathleen Kennedy, has she brought that on herself? Yeah, I think probably she has brought that on herself. She's probably not the only one. And obviously she's, if you think of the guys that have run Disney, I mean, you've got, I think it's Bob Chapek is the guy that's running it right now. But Bob Iger was the previous sort of president of Disney. Now, I think, from what I understand, Bob Iger was a big Kathleen Kennedy fan and really supported Kathleen Kennedy. Bob Chapek, who is the new Supremo, has been around a short period of time in the role, but he's fairly new. I think he's only been around maybe a year or two, not much longer than that. He'll have his own sort of plans for Disney moving forward. As to whether Kathleen Kennedy will be around for a long period of time under Bob Chapek, we don't know. A lot of fans I think what's happening is a lot of fans have got this kind of confirmation bias, and any bit of news that comes out, including the Dave Filoni thing that was updated on the the kind of Disney Lucasfilm website, if they see any information that could potentially, possibly, maybe kind of be about Kathleen Kennedy leaving, they get excited and they're jumping on it. Now, I'm a Star Wars fan. The Law Be With You podcast show, Christian Fandom Geek channel, we are Star Wars fans. The collaborators that I have on this show are Star Wars fans. It's not the only franchises that we love, though. We love a lot of different franchises, but we are big Star Wars fans, big Star Wars geeks. And we try to look at the archetypes and the motifs within the Star Wars universe, lore, and canon. Obviously, there is a fandom war at Lucasfilm, at Disney Lucasfilm, because Kathleen Kennedy has brought in a lot of identity politics within the franchise. There's a lot of kind of left versus right. There's a lot of kind of traditional fans, which might be considered more right-sided or Republicans. And then there's a sort of woke left-sided liberal fan base that Kathleen Kennedy is seeking to bring into the franchise. And the difficulty is that obviously Star Wars was already a very diverse franchise anyway. It wasn't a franchise that lacked diversity. So it was a franchise that had diversity. Now you could have had more diversity in there. Of course you could. They could have brought in more heroes that are kind of front and central protagonists that are black or of color. Yeah, they could have done that. And if they did that the right way, then I think a lot of fans would have actually been on board with that. I will say this with a caveat. Obviously, there are fans that have issues with race in any fandom, in any franchise. And a perfect example of that was the abuse that John Boyega got, really, playing the role of Finn, being a stormtrooper, a black stormtrooper in when it comes to the Force Awakens movie. He got a lot of racial abuse for like no reason at all. Not that there is any good reason to give anybody racial abuse at all anyway. And so there are fans who will be idiots, who will say stupid things, and not folks who actually think things through, or are sort of very diverse in the way that they think, and are kind of just not very sound-minded either, and they have issues. But I think for a lot of Star Wars fans who are not like that, the sort of identity politics has been brought in the wrong way. And so for me, when Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams of doing The Force Awakens, they bring in a character like Finn. Finn, for me, should have been front and centre. John Boyega, I've said it time and time again, he's a great actor. He's a young guy, British Nigerian guy. I've got a lot of time for John Boyega, and I really wanted to see Finn as a central protagonist in The Force Awakens, going through all the sequel trilogy films. By The Rise of Skywalker, I wanted not Jin, because I'm not getting drunk. I wanted Finn as oh gosh, was that a Freudian slip? Is that me wanting some gin? Anyway, we won't go there. I wanted Finn to actually be front and center, not just a promotional Jedi and a kind of campaign where you're kind of sort of doing a bit of a swerve on us and you're kind of misleading the public, and it's a bit of a kind of you expected him to be a Jedi, but really he's just a stormtrooper. Well, actually, we found out that not only was he not a Jedi, not only was he not a great stormtrooper, really, in that sense, the kind of thing, but actually he ended up being a kind of glorified space janitor. And then as the story went along, Finn, he kind of, he stopped being someone that was trying to run away, which you saw in the second film, The Last Jedi. He kind of, he committed to the resistance. In the end, he did. And in that respect, there was a slight character arc there. And then by the third film, by The Rise of Skywalker, he was Force sensitive. He was like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. He's Force sensitive. Maybe he's going to be that Jedi we wanted after all. No. He was Force sensitive, and that was it. And they didn't even fully explain to us in the film why he was Force sensitive, show us what was he going to do with that. We just got little clues, little nuggets here and there that he is Force sensitive, but we're not going to really explain it in the film. If you want to know more, you have to buy the book to see the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. Then it will be explained to you that he's Force sensitive, and that actually him and a group of stormtroopers are Force sensitive, but it's not really ever explained in the franchise. Now, listen, I'm not really for that. I don't like this idea of, we're going to kind of show a little bit in the film, but you really have to go and buy the book to get the full picture. That's bad storytelling. It's not good storytelling. It's not good storytelling at all. So I don't know why they decided to go there, but in terms of Kathleen Kennedy, well, I'm not going to say, look, she's going to go now, it's going to go then. It's an interesting thing with Disney. Are they keeping her around because she generates a lot of publicity? Because sometimes, what's that saying? There's that statement of, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Now, if you think of it, I'm thinking of it almost in a wrestling sort of paradigm here. Kathleen Kennedy would be certainly a heel character. Heel is a character that in wrestling that is very unpopular. And the purpose of a heel character is to make the fans boo. So if you've in wrestling, and we're not going to debate whether wrestling's real, because wrestling is real. Wrestling is real. Okay. We're not going to debate that, but in terms of what happens in wrestling, in that whole sort of paradigm of the wrestling world, whatever promotion you're talking about, you have a heel character who's the bad guy, and then you have a good character that's the babyface character. So the babyface is supposed to have, receive all the plaudits, and the fans will cheer the babyface. So the babyface is supposed to receive a good pop, where the fans are cheering him, his or her name, and like, yeah, we love you, you're great, we want to be you. The bad guy is supposed to be like, boo, we don't like you, you're the bad guy, boo. And so that's how it's supposed to be. And so the bad guy is supposed to make the good guy look good. And you got this sort of juxtaposed position where they're supposed to bring the best out in each other. That was how it's supposed to work. And so if it goes really, really well, everyone's a winner. The bad guy is promoted the good guy is receiving all the plaudits. The bad guy will also have a following of sort of fans who don't really root for the good guy, but root for the bad guy. And so you end up having that sort of stuff. Now, Kathleen Kennedy, if you're viewing it in that context of a kind of, heel versus babyface, you could think that Kathleen Kennedy is a really good heel character, in terms of she winds enough people up, but she gets enough people talking about the franchise to keep things quite fresh and quite relevant within Star Wars. The only issue is this. Financially, she's made them a lot of money, but not as much money as they could have had. Remember, essentially, Star Wars makes money. If, Star Wars, since George Lucas, kind of wrote Star Wars and brought Star Wars to the big screen, and you have the Star Wars era, and it's a genre, defining industry in its own right, and it really took things to a new level in terms of merchandise, the toy sales, the t-shirt sales, the clothing sales, the lightsabers, the toys, everything to do with Star Wars is money. The DVD sales, everything. And so in that regard, if Kathleen Kennedy was making Disney Lucasfilm more money than what she is doing, I would actually argue that she's actually doing a really good job. I would argue that. But ultimately, when it comes down to these things, it kind of comes down to the money. Bearing in mind, I'm not only just about the money. This show's about the fandom. It is on YouTube as Christian Fandom Geek. We care about fandom. We care about what the fans think about these great franchises, these great archetypal stories. And so I would want Kathleen Kennedy to work on trying to, sort of deal with the fandom war and kind of try and bring about some kind of peace and do the right thing. But ultimately, the big guys, the big guns at Disney want the money. That's what they're going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at the money. And if she was bringing in big money, and if, after The Force Awakens, which took a lot of money, by the way, if the Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker also carried on taking a lot of money, not just in the US, but abroad as well, you'd probably have to argue she was doing a good job. She'd be a good heel character in their sort of wrestling paradigm. But actually, because the money has subsided and actually the takings have gone down, you'd argue she's not doing a good job financially. But you would argue that actually, in the fact of people talking about Star Wars, fans talking about Star Wars being trending on Twitter and things like that, she is certainly keeping Star Wars very relevant. But you'd also argue again, Star Wars was always relevant since it came out in the 70s. And yes, it had some time where they kind of weren't making any films and it kind of dipped down a little bit. And then you had this sort of the prequel trilogies that were very mixed in terms of their reviews and very mixed in terms of fan reaction. So there is a lot to think about there, guys. If you're a fan of Star Wars like we are at the Lore Be With You podcast show on Christian Fandom Geek on YouTube, then you got to think about these things. Kathleen Kennedy is an interesting character. She'd be a great wrestling heel character, but if you think about, like me, like I've said on the show, how she treated Luke Skywalker, such a classic, iconic character, in a way that a lot of fans felt was disrespectful. The way that she's interacted with the fans on a lot of different situations. There's a lot of stuff going on there within the fandom. Some fans do like Kathleen Kennedy. Some fans loved The Last Jedi. I've talked on this show about that film. I've debated about that film, and it's one of those things where and if you listen to the Last Jedi debate we've got on Christian Fandom Geek, it's probably, if not the best episode, it's one of the best episodes we've got on the show. And Omar did a fantastic job in arguing his side as somebody that actually is a fan of the Last Jedi film. It'll be interesting also actually even talking to someone like a Luke Saul on something like this, because I know Luke Saul's a big Star Wars fan as well, and I might be able to persuade him to kind of give some views on that as well very, very soon. And in terms of the guys that we've got on the show as collaborators, we've got awesome episodes coming up very soon with Omar. There's going to be probably at least a trilogy of Marvel episodes talking about the history of Marvel coming up very, very soon. They are going to be on fire. Absolutely awesome episodes. So do not miss out on those episodes of Christian Fandom Geek, the Lore Be With You podcast show on Christian Fandom Geek. Also, we'll have an episode with Luke Saul coming up very soon. For those of you who are Luke Saul fans, and there are a lot of Luke Saul fans who are loving the Lore Be With You podcast show, Luke is coming on again very, very soon. So look out for that as well. So there's a lot of awesome content to come very, very soon on the Lore Be With You podcast show on Christian Fandom Geek. We're getting good views on the YouTube channel, but obviously we want to keep the momentum going. So please get on there. If you're watching any of our content on YouTube, hit sub, like the videos, leave a comment as well, because I want to really interact with your comments on the show. And even if you disagree with something we're saying on the show, that's all fine and good. We do allow free speech here on the Lore Be With You podcast show. I know there's a lot of talk about the delete sort of imperative that I call it going on in Hollywood at the moment. A lot of them, even Gal Gadot, I think, has come under fire recently as well, for some of her comments to do with the situation that's been going on in Israel and whatnot. But here on the Lore Be With You podcast show, we do allow free speech. We don't promote hate speech, but we do allow free speech, and so that is a very important thing as well. Okay, I hope you at home are enjoying the show. Keep safe, continue to support the show. I appreciate you as fans of the show. Like the collaborators on the show also appreciate you as well. That's why we do this show. It's for you. It's for the fans to enjoy it. And I really thank each and every listener that listens to the Lore Be With You podcast show for your support, for being faithful to the show, for continuing to listen to the show. And my goal really is to continue to improve the show, to continue to improve the content on the show as well. So I thank God for each and every one of you. And so have a great day, and we'll be with you very soon on the Lore Be With You podcast show. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I like episodes like that where we're talking about some of the things that are going on within fandom. And like I say, it's kind of cool to kind of correct situations as well. Obviously, the Dave Filoni situation, fans have thought that he was actually got a new position, and he's been in the position he's in right now. He's been in there for about a year. So that kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of at least it brings a bit of knowledge onto those situations. Now, if you are following the show as a podcast on Google or on Apple Podcasts, please continue to do so. And also it'd be great if you leave a review as well. We're also on Good Pods as well, which is a platform, a fairly new platform for podcasts. I think it's a free download as well. And so if you want to follow us on Good Pods, or if you have got Good Pods already, you can look for the Law Be With You podcast show. Or if you're thinking of trying the Good Pods app, the Law Be With You podcast show is on there. If you want to listen to our show on a different platform and it's currently not on there, get over to our YouTube channel, Christian Fandom Geek, and leave a comment and let me know what platform you want to use, and then I can get onto Anchor and say to them, look, you need to add this platform as well, and we'll get it over to you as well. So there are a lot of ways to enjoy the Law Be With You podcast show. And like I said, we're on YouTube as Christian Fandom Geek. And if you want to go on YouTube, go on there, hit sub, hit like, and leave us a comment. As a show, I want to interact with your comments, especially to do with fandom, to do with story. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to agree. And if you don't like what we're saying, that's awesome. And we will try to dialogue with you and present good arguments as to why we are right. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, I think we're kind of right most of the time. We'll certainly try to. And if we're not, we'll go and do our homework and we'll come back to you as well. We're always looking to improve the content, myself and the collaborators on the show. We always want to improve the content that we're giving you. We always want to improve the show as well for you, the fans. And for you who are fans, thank you for this wild journey of, our journey to light speed as we're going into this sort of the realm of all these different fandoms and franchises as well. It's a lot of fun. Some of the episodes can be controversial, but we come with it with the heart of Christ. We come with it with a heart of wanting to be good Christians who glorify God within this realm of kind of podcasting and YouTube media. And so keep safe, and we'll be with you very, very soon again on the next episode of the Law Be With You podcast show.